A dad snapped a knife in burglar's eye as he stabbed him to death, a court heard. The killing took place when Carl Townsend and his half-brother Jamie Cunningham allegedly went to confront 3 intruders at Townsend's home. Prosecutors claim the pair armed themselves with knives and rushed to the home after being alerted to the break-in by the property's Ring doorbell. The prosecution alleged Townsend pretended he believed his partner and child were in danger to justify the killing at his home in Halewood, Merseyside. Townsend allegedly plunged a knife through Jordan Brophy's left optic nerve, leaving the broken blade embedded in his brain. Liverpool Crown Court heard how he also knifed him in the head and arm. Townsend later returned and allegedly stabbed Mr. Brophy in the jugular vein, the Liverpool Echo reports. Jurors heard how the second attack on the defenseless 31-year-old was out of revenge or punishment. Townsend allegedly stabbed Mr. Brophy through the eye, leaving the broken blade embedded in his brain. Image, Liverpool Echo. Richard Pratt, QC, prosecuting, has said Townsend does not dispute causing Mr. Brophy's death. Today he alleged Townsend knew his partner Amelia Rigby and their 3-year-old son were not at home, because he phoned her. CCTV footage showed Mr. Brophy, plus 2 other unknown intruders and a getaway driver, arriving in Beechwood Avenue in a black Mercedes A-Class on October 29. Last year, Mr. Brophy was seen in the footage climbing over a side gate at 6:33 p.m. Mr. Pratt suggested Mr. Brophy checked the house was empty, before using a stone to smash a side door window and enter with 2 accomplices. At this time, Ms. Rigby was walking further up the street, with her child and dog. Mr. Pratt said Townsend would naturally be concerned to check on their safety. He said Townsend rang Ms. Rigby at 6:35 p.m. for 19 seconds, before she walked away from her home address and any threat of danger. He said, Carl Townsend, as you will hear, was to pretend, and indeed may in the course of this trial still pretend the prosecution would say, that he believed his partner and child were in the house and in danger. The QC added, you may think it is blindingly obvious that by the end of that phone call he knew she was not at home and more than that, she knew not to go. Mr. Pratt said Townsend and Cunningham, 23, sped to the house, not to protect their family, but for another purpose. He suggested CCTV footage showed both brothers were armed with knives. Townsend and Jamie Cunningham deny murder. Image, Liverpool Echo WS. The prosecutor said there was no footage from inside the house. 24 seconds after the brothers entered, the burglars left through the side door. On footage played in court, Mr. Brophy could be heard shouting, I can't see. Mr. Pratt said one burglar was carrying what appeared to be a knife. Townsend's car allegedly left the street and he called a man named Michael Williams for 2 minutes. Mr. Pratt claimed that call was made within a minute of Townsend inflicting grave injuries to Mr. Brophy and at a time when he would claim to be consumed with concern for the well-being of his partner and child. Mid-call, Townsend's car returned and collided with a wall outside another house, jurors heard. Mr. Pratt said a male voice could be heard shouting what the prosecution said was S***** head. He said, the defense invite you to consider that the words shouted are the words shoot him. Mr. Pratt told the jury, Mr. Brophy's associates tried to get him in their car, but he crouched behind a garden wall. He suggested someone could be heard on CCTV footage to say, who was it? The QC suggested that was Townsend addressing Jordan Brophy and accusing him of robbing his house. He added, indeed we say, you should be able to hear his words look, tell me lad or I will kill you. Mr. Pratt said the defense did not accept this could be heard. Neighbor Rachel Blaney rang 999 and described seeing Carl punching a man pinned up against a car on the opposite side of the road. Mr. Pratt said, if her account is correct, there can be no serious question of self-defense. Forensic officers at the scene in Halewood, Merseyside. Image, Liverpool Echo. The prosecutor said, he was not simply being punched. He was being stabbed repeatedly. He was unarmed and defenseless. He was also gravely wounded. He posed, we say, no serious danger to anyone, let alone to a man with a knife in his hand, even if the knife had already been broken. The defendant's brother Sean Townsend Jr. rang 999 at 6:41 p.m. to say his brother's home had been broken into and he was going there. When he arrived, the call was still connected. Mr. Pratt said, "Cunningham is heard to say that when we came out of the house there were 3 running at us, but we had to run, get back in the car, drove back around, drove back. As we reversed back to pick Amelia up, we saw him bleeding from his face, so we knew it was him who was in the house, so we ran over him and ran him through with the car. Yeah, the one over there. The car got stuck in the mud." He said. Ms. Rigby said, "They must be knew I was out. Imagine if I was in there." Mr. Pratt said Cunningham did not respond, but we thought you were in the house, Amelia, or anything like it. The QC said, in that perhaps unguarded moment, Jamie Cunningham reveals that he was very much a part of what had happened to Jordan Brophy. Mr. Pratt told the jury Townsend went to nearby Pendleton Green, where police later found a broken registration plate in a bush. Prosecutors claim Townsend pretended he believed his partner and child were in danger. Image, Liverpool Echo. Get all the latest news sent to your inbox. Sign up for the free Mirror newsletter. The prosecutor said, "Why would this shocked man, who has done no more than to defend himself, feel the need to dispose of a broken registration plate?" Mr. Pratt said at 7:24 p.m., Townsend called 999 to make his own complaint. He said, "Put simply, the prosecution case is he is lying through his teeth." The jury heard Townsend telling the operator, "I've just been attacked in me house by 3 fellas," and saying one intruder was aiming a knife at him. He alleged one intruder said F*** off Carl and go away now or I am going to stab you, and he ended up rolling on the floor fighting and hitting one of. He said, "I've been cut and he's been cut as well." Mr. Pratt said, what he had described was ending up fighting with one of them. The reality was he had repeatedly stabbed Jordan Brophy and brought about his death. When arrested and interviewed, Townsend and Cunningham gave prepared statements. Townsend said he had become aware of a burglary in process at Ms. Rigby's home. He said, "Fearing for her safety and that of my son, I went to the address. I opened the door and was met by the burglars who were carrying weapons. An altercation took place between us. Any action taken by me was only ever in defense of myself, my family and the property." Cunningham told officers, "We were unsure as to whether or not Carl's partner and 3-year-old son were in the house." He said he saw 3 masked males, all holding knives, and one had an altercation with Townsend, before he and his brother ran away. He added, "I did not use any." Townsend and Cunningham, both of Penman Crescent, deny murder and possessing a bladed article. The trial continues.